Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the Rebel Pastor YouTube channel. Pastor Sky over here, and yes, I am still in Malaysia in my brand new studio. It's only is this the third or the fourth episode I'm doing inside the studio? Hope you guys have enjoyed, even though you can't really see it because everything is done on a green screen. But hopefully in the future, we'll be able to maybe find a place where we can do no green screen, but an actual background. I think that would be kind of cool too, but let's just see what happens. So if you're here for the very first time, welcome to The Rebel Pastor. If you like this content, go ahead, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. And for everyone, I see you guys in the live chat room right now. Make sure you click that like button for today's episode. So, if there's going to be 50 people in here, there should be at least 50 like buttons when it first starts, right? It is Wednesday morning already over here in Asia. But for those of you in the US and Canada, it is 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, one thing, remember, our goal for 2024, as we've been doing this for about a little over 3 months, we're trying to hit 10K. Like 10K is the goal. We want to hit it before the end of this year. And if you guys want to be part of it, there's a couple things that you can do. Spiritually, which is the most important part, please pray for this channel. Pray for this channel so that it can grow, it can spread the seeds of the gospel, that many people, whether they're believers, can be edified and receive more from this channel, or those who are not believers, they can listen to this and actually come to Christ through it. So I hope it's something that all of you can participate in spiritually. Physically speaking, of course, subscribe, like, but I think the most important thing that we can do is share. Sharing is one of the best things we can do. Like right on the screen, right below it, you'll see that, There's a button that says share, and then you can share it to your friends or people you think that would really benefit from this type of content too, okay? So yes, just letting you guys know, we've been going a little bit over 4 months strong now. We've been going 4 months strong, and we have been growing enormously, and I hope that we can really hit our goals. And most importantly, through this channel, we allow God to work through, not just through my lips, but also through your lips as you testify and say, oh, there's a great channel over here. I hope you guys really, really enjoy this. And I'm sure that everyone's going to have some episode that they like the best you can send to your friends or family or whatnot, okay? Now, it's been another week, and I'm very curious, how has your week been? I hope that everyone has been receiving a lot of grace. People have been being blessed for this entire week. And I do know also that some of us are going to be going through some difficulties here and there. But I really hope that we will always keep that heart of thanksgiving to God in whatever that happens, right? If we want to be true believers, what is the best thing? It's not about just giving thanks when things are good. We got to give thanksgiving to God. We got to give thanksgiving to Jesus in the times when it's difficult too. All right. So there's this one thing that, for me, I talk about this all the time, but I love and I enjoy the comment section. I do. Right now, it's become one of the most exciting and fun things for me to do. So if I were to tell you this, whenever I read the comment section, it gives me two different types of responses. All right. Now, the first response, I would say there's a response of joy, right? There's a response of joy where people are writing in that they love the content, or they received a lot of grace, or they learned something that they didn't know from the past. Like I get, these are good comments that bring me a lot of joy. Okay. Now, the second type of comment that I get, I would say it's funny. Like it just makes me burst out in laughter. Okay. So there's this funny comment thread from like a couple weeks back. And this one really, really was funny for me. It was. Okay. So someone wrote in the comment section and they said something. What did they say? They said, quit playing church. Quit playing church. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So he thinks like, this person thinks, this is what I'm doing on YouTube. And, entitled to their own opinion. And for me, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should respond in a fun way. So I responded, quit playing the comment section. Right? And then, I went away from it. Then I got a notification that there was a response. And I went back to that comment section, and another person comments in the room and says, quit playing games with my heart, and then it says like Backstreet Boys. And I was just laughing because, excuse me, it's just funny to be able to just kind of have a good time in that comment section too. And even when people are kind of negative, it's okay to have a little bit fun here and there. And everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I am someone who really loves the Backstreet Boys, so I got that. That was something that really was touching my heart. Quit playing games with my heart. Yeah, I love the Backstreet Boys. When I was in high school, was it high school? No, it was probably like, high school, university. That's when Backstreet Boys were on fire. I love the Backstreet Boys. I think it was in my high school times. I know all the songs. I know all the lyrics to the songs. And for those of you guys who don't know in America, Backstreet Boys came to Canada first before America. So we heard of Backstreet Boys first, and then it caught fire into America. I don't know. It's like completely useless information, but I just wanted to say it because I'm really, really into the Backstreet Boys. But yeah, I'm gonna tell you this, I even laugh a lot when it comes to the negative comments to me because of the way they form their negative comments. Like one person said, Christians, this is from TikTok, Christians use God's word, but you don't. So why do I listen to you? And my answer would probably be well, you don't really need to listen to me. You can go on to someone else. And I was gonna write, Christians also don't judge someone by a 60-second clip, but I didn't write that, and I won't. Even though I just said it, and it's gonna be immortalized. This is gonna be said, and it's gonna be on YouTube for like forever, right? But it's really interesting. It makes me laugh because it's kind of absurd how people can like judge me by a 60-second clip and they'll know everything about me in that case. But there's another person that I really couldn't understand either. This was kind of absurd to me, in my opinion, was they said, I just quoted the Bible and you don't want to believe me. And for me, is like, that is not even a rational reason. Just because you quote the Bible doesn't mean it's right. Just because the Bible is truth and you quoted it doesn't mean that you are true, right? That doesn't make any sense. So even for me, I'm a very logical and rational person. So when I hear someone say, hey, I just quoted the Bible and you don't believe me, and I'd be like, there are thousands of people that quote the Bible every day. Are you saying that just because they quote the Bible, they're all right, even though they're saying the complete opposite things? So this is why I enjoy the comment section. Comment section is nice, right? Everyone out there, tell me, like inside the live chat room, let me know. Have you guys read those comments, some of those comments? Like tell me what some of your favorite ones are. And my suggestion to you is enjoy it. Just enjoy the comment section. There's no need to get mad, no need to be defensive. Why? Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Everyone is entitled to their interpretation, right? And until someone can say, or when Jesus comes back and says, this is the truth, you must believe this way, is there anyone who can really, really say, oh, 100% it says 100%, and the rest of you are wrong, right? So I would say enjoy. Enjoy the comment section. Don't let it beat you up too much. I'm very thankful for those that go out and defend me too. But I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm not affected by it at all. Right? So the comment section, that's something I did want to talk about because it's a fun thing. But there's one thing that someone was asking me a question about this, and I thought about this, all right? And this is, as a pastor, I do counsel a lot of people. Right? I'm counseling people here and there. They ask me a lot of questions. People talk about things happening in the world, like the wars and the earthquakes and the famines and these types of things. And they also tell me about personal things that are happening in their life too. But I think there's something that people of faith have to remember when it comes to problems that happen in the world and problems that happen with our faith too, right? How do we resolve these? And I'm gonna share this with you through just a very, very quick story. Very, very quick story, okay? So let's take a look at the story of the prophet Elijah, okay? So Prophet Elijah is the second greatest prophet in all the Old Testament time. And one of his famous stories is when he defeats the 850 prophets of idols, okay? So what happens is, Israel is worshiping idols. They're believing in another God. So they're breaking the first and second commandment, which is the two worst commandments. Elijah is called by God and is asked to go and speak to the king of Israel, which was Ahab at that time. So let's turn to 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 1. Okay, so when you look at 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 1, it says, "Now Elijah, the Tishbite from Tishbe in Gilead, said to Ahab, 'As the Lord, the God of Israel lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word.'" What's Elijah saying? Elijah was called by God to go against the king who is making idol worship a part of, making all of Israel worship idols. So what he announces is, guess what? There's going to be a drought. There's going to be a drought in Israel because of your rampant idol worship. And the one thing that we can see here is what? There is a physical problem. There is a physical drought coming into Israel. Why? Because of a spiritual problem that's happening. And we have to also think about this too when it comes to the world issues, the world problems, our family problems, our personal problems too. Don't forget that sometimes our physical problems are happening because of a spiritual thing that needs to be resolved first. Once you resolve the spiritual, the physical will also be resolved. And you're going to see in this story too, that eventually what happens is Elijah defeats the prophets of the idol worshipers. And once they die, then what happens? The people begin to receive rain again, right? So once the spiritual problem is taken care of, the physical problem is also taken care of too. And I think that's something as people of faith and people who truly worship God, that's one of the things that we have to recognize is sometimes physical problems happen because of a spiritual problem first. And a lot of times we got to resolve that spiritual part first, whether it's unresolved sin, whether it's something that we haven't repented for, whether it's something we've done against our brothers and sisters, those things have to be taken care of first before the physical things are taken care of also. And it also reminds me of another Bible verse in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. And in Ephesians 6, verse 12, very famous verse, it talks about what is a true struggle. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And this is something that we have to keep in mind. A lot of times, think deeply, pray deeply, why is this happening? Is it the same as the time of Elijah where there's a spiritual problem that has to be resolved first? And if we start to become more spiritual and recognize these things, we'll be able to solve the actual problem. You guys have heard this before, right? Sometimes we're so busy just taking care of all the little fires out there when we don't realize it's all coming from the big fire that's in the back, right? It means that we're kind of aiming to resolve the symptoms first before the actual problem itself. So I hope it's something that we can really consider. And I think that's a question we need to all ask ourselves right now. Is there any spiritual problem that you're dealing with right now? And see, right? Resolve it and see what else gets resolved in the physical side also. It's something I do think that we have to recognize is take a look at the things that are unresolved and see what the results are. And then also take a look at the things in your life when you need to resolve that one spiritual thing. And then see what the physical things will be resolved there also. This reminds me of an interesting story. There's one time, I'm from Vancouver, right? Vancouver, Canada. And there was a friend. And this friend was barren, where they couldn't have a baby. And I was talking to another friend about this story. And they said that their best friend prayed on behalf of this person, set this crazy spiritual condition, 40 days, right? And I'm not sure if it was 40 days of complete fasting. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but they fasted 40 days for their friend to have a baby, right? They prayed for their friend. They repented on behalf of their friend. And what happened? After the 40 days, their best friend got pregnant. So you see that there was something spiritual that someone did, and what happened was it resolved something and it allowed something physical to actually happen. So, I hope it's something that we can look at too and see that there are things in our life spiritually that are destroying the physical parts of our life too. So if you want to stop the suffering, if you want to move forward in Christ, I pray that we'll be able to figure out and see those things that are unresolved or unrepented for, and we take care of those right away, so those physical things can be taken care of right away too. Okay? So let's get into today's main topic, right? Today's main topic is really cool. I was actually with one of my good friend's two daughters, right? And I'm just hanging out with them, like 14 and 16 years old. I was just like being an uncle, right? And they gave me this really, really interesting comment, like very interesting comment. And the comment, because we were talking about Adam and Eve, and we were talking about the Bible and certain things, and they made, one of them, the 14-year-old made this comment. And the comment they gave me, they said is like, oh, so I was reading the Bible and it said that Adam and Eve were naked, and then later God gave them clothes. So is that when we got clothes? It's a very interesting question. 6,000 years ago, right? 6,000 years ago, what happened? It's true. Because if you look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 25, what does it say? It says that, excuse me, Adam and Eve were created and they were naked and they had no shame. That's Genesis 2:25. Now, Genesis chapter 3, verse 21, what does that say? Well, after the fall is committed, what does God do for them? God gives them animal skins as clothes. So they were innocently saying to me like, oh, so what happened? Does that mean that they were, that no one ever wore clothes until God gave them animal skins? And I would say that the one thing, I'm going to answer this more symbolically. All right. There's a lot of arguments out there. Were Adam and Eve the first or not? And I have a video on that. Or it's going to be, is this a physical story or a spiritual story, or what parts of it are symbolic? I'm not going to get into those types of things, but I'm going to tell you why they were naked at first and why God gave them animal skins to wear after they committed the fall. And it doesn't have to do with clothing itself is like, oh, guess what? You're hot when you're with God, and then when you leave God, you're cold, so I'm going to give you some clothes to wear. It's got nothing to do with that. What is the symbolism behind this? Why did they get clothes? Why did God give them animal skins? Why were they naked before? Even though they're living in Israel, and what's happening in Israel? Israel is a place that has winter. Israel gets cold. Sometimes it snows. It rains. So why wouldn't they wear clothes anyways? So we're going to go into the symbolic meaning of why they were naked and why God gave them animal skins as clothes. Okay? So the first thing we do need to know is the Bible is chock full of symbolism, parables, and allegories. Right? Even Jesus himself, take a look at Matthew chapter 13, verse 34 and 35. Now 34, what does 34 say? 34 says, Jesus spoke all these things to the crowds in parables. He did not say anything without using a parable. So we know one thing is Jesus spoke to the crowds only using parables. That is something that is clear in the Bible. Okay, when he spoke to the crowds, it was through parables. Now, verse 35 is very interesting because it has to do with a prophecy that Jesus had to fulfill. And it says, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things hidden since the creation of the world. Now, what part am I going to focus on here? The prophecy about Jesus, number one, is he's going to speak in parables. So there's the first prophecy. But look at the second prophecy. Second prophecy is very interesting. It says, through these parables, he will utter things hidden since the creation of the world. What does that mean? It means that when Jesus spoke, or in these parables, even things that have been hidden since the creation, things have been hidden since the creation of the world. Well, when's the creation of the world? Creation of the world is Genesis chapter 1. So we know that many things have been hidden through parables. Okay, so let's go one step further into this. So now that we know that there's allegories, parables, symbolism that's all made by God throughout the Bible, let's go to the next thing. right? So we're getting into a story where it's about clothing. So let's take a look at what the Bible says. What does clothing symbolize, spiritually speaking? So what you wear, what does it actually mean? And I'm going to show you another Bible verse for this too. So if in the Bible, what does God use as a symbol of clothing? Like, what does it actually symbolize? Look at Revelations chapter 19, verse 8. And Revelation chapter 19, verse 8 says what? It says, fine linen, clean and bright, symbolizes righteous actions of God's holy people, right? If you look at Revelation 19:8, it says, fine linen, bright and clean, was given her to wear. Fine linen stands for the righteous acts of God's holy people. So what do we see? In the Bible, clothing can be seen as something like the actions that you take. So if you have bright and clean clothing, that is more righteous actions. And let's pretend you had dirty and tattered clothes, that would be more wicked or evil actions. So when you look at clothing, it shows you what type of actions you have. And I'm going to say something else about clothing too. Clothing also shows your job, your mission, like the things that you actually do. Now, what does that mean? Well, for instance, policemen. A policeman wears a uniform, right? A policeman's uniform. Firefighters wear firefighters' uniform. Whatever job that whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, whatever jobs we have, there's certain clothes we wear to show that we are in that position, right? Which means that a policeman should be taking actions like a policeman, and that is something that we have to recognize. So you can kind of tell who someone is by the clothes they wear, okay? So how does this tie into why they were naked and why God gave them animal skins as clothes, all right? So the symbolism, the skins that you wear, when we take it to the fundamentally who we are, to be naked or to wear the skin of a human being, what does that mean? It means that for them to be naked, it means that they were human. And you're like, duh, of course it means that you're human. And we're not talking about just physically human itself. It means that they were complete human beings, right? The skin of a human means that they were human. So let's get deeper into this. So Genesis chapter 2, verse 25, Adam and Eve were created, and then God breathed life into them, and they were connected to God and lived with him in the Garden of Eden. They were naked, wearing the skins of human beings, okay? So they're wearing the clothes of humans. So what is a human? Well, look at the scriptures. The scriptures in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 23 tells us that human beings are made of three distinct parts. It is the body, the soul, and the spirit. So here's a human being, body, soul, and spirit, okay? The body, we see this, you can see my body right now. The soul you can't see, but it has to do more with my mind, my heart, and my thoughts. And of course, we have finally the spirit, what eventually lives forever in the spiritual world, whether it's in heaven or hell, okay? So the thing that we have to understand is, well, what makes a human being? Well, what can we compare human beings to? Let's compare human beings to something else in this world, like animals. What is the fundamental difference between humans and animals, okay? The fundamental difference between humans and animals is going to be the very reason why God chooses to save human beings and not animals and not trees and not rocks. Only one thing: body, soul, and spirit. And what is that one part of us that connects to God? What is the one part of us that after we die will live forever with God in heaven? And what is that? It's the spirit. How do I know? Well, look at what the Bible says. In John chapter 4, verse 24, it says, God is spirit, so his worshipers must worship in spirit and truth. Because God is spirit and he's not a body, this is why we can't touch him. We can't hold his arms. We can't hug him. We can't kiss him. We can't see him, right? So many things we can't see about God because he's spirit. So what does God connect to? God connects with our spirit. And even after we die, what is God going to be communicating and interacting with? Our spirits. The spirit is what is the greatest difference between us and all of creation. Creation has all of their blessings. You know, one time someone asked me like, well, God created human beings as the best creation, but what's so great about human beings? We don't live the longest. We don't live longer than trees or rocks or mountains. We're not the fastest. The cheetah's faster. The bear is faster. So many of these animals are faster than us. We're not the tallest. Look at the trees out. There's so many things that are taller, faster, bigger, stronger. We're not even the strongest. So what's so great about human beings? And God said the biggest difference is human beings will live forever because we have spirit. Animals have a body and a soul, but they don't have a spirit. Because of our spirits, this is why God reaches out to us. God created us with the spirit so that we can connect and have a relationship with him. That's the biggest difference. We have a spirit and animals don't. So let's go one step further. So what happens in the story of Adam and Eve? They eventually commit the fall. And after they commit the fall, what happens? Well, we know in Genesis 2:17, the result of the fall is death itself, right? If you eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, what's going to happen to you? You will, dramatic pause, and wiping my nose, you will surely die, right? So it says you will surely die. And of course, we have another video on this in the past, but when we check out what is the actual death that happened at the time of Adam and Eve, well, we'll look at other verses, for instance, like Revelation chapter 20, verse 14, that talks about a second death. And you have Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7, that, once your body dies, your spirit goes back to God who made it, right? So we see that it's the spirit. Like, the spirit is the most important part because it lives forever. Right? If the body was the most important part, the body would live forever, but it's the spirit. The spirit goes to heaven, the spirit goes to hell, the body just dies here on the earth. So at the time of Adam and Eve, they commit the fall. And how did they die? They died spiritually. What does that mean? They disconnected from God. Their relationship was absolutely broken. And because of this, what does that mean? Well, let's get deep into this and get to the answer. Before the fall, God reached out to them. They reached out to God. Their spirit was living. They had a relationship with God. They were connected to God. They were fully human, and that's why they were naked, in human skin. But after they committed the fall, what happened? Well, the relationship with God was cut, which means the spirit died. Now, if your spirit is dead, what's remaining? Only your body and soul. Just like who else? Just like animals. And God said, here, have animal skins. Why? That's what you are now. Since you disconnected from God, you are nothing more than an animal because your spirit is dead. And if you really look at the world today, the people that don't believe in God, we kind of live like animals. Just living, just eating, mating, right? Taking care of your family, doing something for your society, and then you die. This is the same thing animals do just to survive, just to live a little longer to the next generation, the next generation. That's what animals do. And this is why a lot of people are struggling and trying to figure out, how am I supposed to really live my life? They only get into emptiness and meaninglessness. And what we have to realize is it all stemmed from the fall. And it broke the spirit and we became like animals. And God said, here, wear this because that is what you are. And that is the symbolism of God giving us the animal skins and being naked before. Before wearing human skins, they were complete humans, body, soul, and spirit. After the fall, the spirit dies, and God says, this is what you are now. And this is why there was a need, a necessity for the Messiah to come to save people's spirits so that they can be once again wearing human skins. Okay? So that is the answer when it comes to why did God give animal skins to Adam and Eve? Was it literally, oh, that's the time we started wearing clothes? And the answer is absolutely not. It's not that. All right. So I hope you guys really enjoyed that. A lot of things to think about, a lot of things to think more deeply about when it comes to the words of God too. And I hope that you gained something, you were edified by this. If you know someone out there who's going to really enjoy this type of content, go ahead and make sure you share this with someone else. Everyone out there in the live chat room world, make sure you guys like this video before you head out. If you guys enjoyed it, send it to someone else too. Okay? So there it is, guys. That is the end of today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have an amazing and awesome week. We'll see you all throughout the week with our shorts and our videos and everything else and whatnot. And then we'll see you guys again next week, all right? This is the Rebel Pastor YouTube channel. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a wonderful and awesome day, and we'll see you guys again next week. Bye-bye.